Imagine a pope so corrupt, so shrouded in scandal, that rumors whispered he crossed every moral line imaginable. A man whose ambition was only rivaled by his desire, and whose daughter, famed for her beauty and cunning, was at the center of the darkest gossip in Renaissance Europe. Pope Alexander VI, a name synonymous with bribery, debauchery, and power. But what if I told you one of the most infamous claims against him was that he slept with his own daughter? Today, we peel back the layers of history, separating fact from legend, to explore the shocking world of the Borgia family, their scandals, and the whispers that still echo through the halls of the Vatican. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see the line between history and myth blur, and discover the truth behind the rumors that have haunted Alexander VI for centuries. And if you think you know the story of the Borgias, trust me, you haven't seen the half of it. To understand the scandal, we must start with the family at its center, the Borgias. Originally from Valencia, Spain, the Borgias were ambitious, shrewd, and unapologetically ruthless. Rodrigo Borgia rose through the ranks of the Catholic Church, not through piety, but through cunning, political maneuvering, and strategic alliances. By the time he became Pope Alexander VI in 1492, the Borgia name was already steeped in controversy. His children, Cesare, Juan, and Lucrezia, were pawns and players in a game of power, marrying into influential families and consolidating wealth in ways that often blurred moral and ethical boundaries. But the family's reputation went beyond political ambition. The Borgias were accused of murder, bribery, and corruption, earning them a legacy that continues to fascinate historians and the public alike. And then there was the whisper that would scandalize generations, the alleged incest between Alexander VI and his daughter, Lucrezia Borgia. But what was the truth behind this accusation, and why has it endured for centuries? We'll get there, but first, let's see how Rodrigo rose to the pinnacle of the Catholic Church. Rodrigo Borgia's ascent was as calculated as it was relentless. Born into a family of minor nobility, he learned early that wealth and influence were more powerful than divine virtue. By the time he became a cardinal, his reputation for cunning political maneuvering had already earned him enemies and allies alike. In 1492, following the death of Pope Innocent VIII, Rodrigo was elected Pope Alexander VI, a man already infamous for fathering several illegitimate children and living openly in sin by the standards of the Church. His election shocked some, but for those who knew the Borgias, it was the culmination of decades of strategic plotting. With the papacy secured, Alexander VI began wielding power not just spiritually, but politically and financially, demonstrating a flair for manipulation that would define his reign. But his personal life, the affairs, the favoritism, and the alleged improprieties would cast a shadow over every decision he made. And it was precisely his unbridled indulgences that would spark the most infamous rumors of his career. Alexander VI's papacy was rife with scandal. He openly kept mistresses, fathered illegitimate children, and used his position to enrich and empower his family. Bribery and simony were common tools, and he did not hesitate to manipulate cardinals and rulers alike to secure the Borgia legacy. Contemporaries accused him of turning the Vatican into a playground for sin. It is said that he would hold extravagant banquets while the poor starved outside, and that political assassination was sometimes just another tool to protect his children's fortunes. Cesare Borgia became a military genius in part thanks to his father's ruthless networking, while Lucrezia's marriages were carefully orchestrated to strengthen alliances. Yet, among all these charges, one accusation stood out, shocking even the most cynical observers: the claim that Alexander VI had committed the ultimate taboo with his own daughter. But as we will see, this claim is far more complicated than gossip would suggest. What evidence exists, if any, to support this claim, and why has it endured for over 500 years? Lucrezia Borgia, often described as one of the most beautiful women in Europe, became the focal point of the scandalous allegations against her father. Some contemporaries and later historians claimed that Alexander VI's indulgence went beyond nepotism and favoritism, suggesting incestuous relations. It's crucial to stress, There is no definitive proof that Alexander VI ever slept with his daughter. These rumors largely stemmed from political enemies, moralists, and sensationalist chroniclers, eager to tarnish the Borgia name. But in an era where propaganda was weaponized as ruthlessly as the sword, such allegations were enough to cement a family's infamy for centuries. The truth is likely far less lurid, but the stories persisted because they fit the image of a pope whose personal life seemed to defy all moral and religious boundaries. So why did history latch onto this allegation, and how did it affect Lucrezia's reputation? Let's explore her life next. Lucrezia Borgia's life was a careful balancing act between power, survival, and reputation. Married 3 times for political alliances, she navigated a world dominated by men wielding swords and influence. Her father's scandals often overshadowed her personal achievements, turning her into a symbol of corruption, even when her actions were largely dictated by survival and family duty. Her role in Borgia politics was critical. While some historians portray her as a naive pawn, others argue she wielded subtle influence at mastering diplomacy and leveraging her family connections to consolidate power. If you're fascinated by the hidden stories of Renaissance politics and shocking Vatican secrets, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next story, where we uncover even darker plots of the Borgia dynasty. But while Lucrezia tried to navigate her father's shadow, the legacy of Alexander VI's papacy continued to ripple through history in ways even she could not control. Alexander VI's papacy ended with as much drama as it began. When he died in 1503, he left behind a city and a church scarred by corruption, nepotism, and scandal. The Borgia's enemies moved quickly, eager to erase their influence and rewrite history in a more moralistic light. His children, Cesare, Juan, and Lucrezia, faced both the benefits and curses of his legacy. Cesare tried to maintain military and political power. Lucrezia continued navigating the treacherous waters of Italian courts, and the family name remained synonymous with vice and cunning for centuries. But how much of what we know about the Borgias is true, and how much is the product of myth, rumor, and propaganda? Separating fact from fiction in Borgia history is challenging. Historians agree on Alexander VI's corruption, nepotism, and licentious behavior. But the more lurid claims, such as incest with Lucrezia, remain unproven, often fueled by jealous rivals or later storytellers seeking to entertain and scandalize. Lucrezia, in particular, has been unfairly vilified. While her father's actions certainly placed her in compromising positions, there is little evidence she willingly engaged in any immoral acts. In reality, she was a politically savvy woman surviving in one of the most dangerous environments in European history. The takeaway? History often conflates rumor with reality, especially when it comes to figures as sensational as the Borgias. Understanding the difference is essential to separating propaganda from truth. And yet, the myths persist, shaping our perception of power, morality, and corruption in ways that are still relevant today. Pope Alexander VI's life reminds us that history is rarely black and white. Corruption, ambition, and scandal often intertwine, leaving us to untangle fact from fiction centuries later. While the allegations against him, especially those involving his daughter, may never be proven, they continue to fascinate, shock, and provoke debate. If you want more shocking stories from history that challenge everything you thought you knew, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. And remember, sometimes the truth is stranger and more complex than the legend. The Borgias were a family of ambition, cunning, and survival. Their story is a cautionary tale about power unchecked, the fragility of reputation, and the allure of myth over truth.